All right, so 29.3, we talked about the different senses you've learned before. How many senses do you have? Did you learn about that in grade school? 5 senses? Have you heard about the sixth sense? Have you heard about that? Like what? Equilibrium? Some people think that. Yeah, some people will define it like that, where it's like your sense of position, a sense of where you are. That's one way to define the sixth sense. It's not a true sense that they've defined officially, but that's one way that they would say it. What they also would say is that it could be like intuition. The sixth sense could be you just have a feeling about somebody and you can't really explain why. You know, somebody, you're in a coffee shop and somebody comes up to you as a stranger and you can just tell right away you shouldn't trust that person. And you can't really put into words why you are creeped out by that person, why you feel uncomfortable with that person. You just know who you are. And a sixth sense could be that context where you have this gut feeling, but you can't explain logically why you feel that way. And that is due usually to experiences that you've had, that your brain, even though you can't consciously say why, you had a lot of experience with other people, either, you know, in person, or you've heard stories, or you've watched TV shows where a certain kind of person you know is dangerous and you can't trust them. And based on those experiences you've had over the years, your brain can see, I see the same characteristics from this person. This person, the eyes are creepy. You know, they're not, it's not a normal position of the eyes, and they're behaving in a strange way. And based on that, you know that you shouldn't trust this person. And so an intuition can be like that, where even though it seems to not be logical, it really is. It's based on your experiences. You just can't always put into words on why you feel a certain way. So the senses detect internal and external environments. 5 senses: hearing, sight, taste, touch, and smell. And those are the senses that tell you both inside and outside what's happening and what's changing. So the main purpose for senses is to maintain homeostasis. It tells you when things change so you can adapt to those changes and maintain the right levels in your body and protect the body. Senses gather stimuli, and the stimulus is what makes a change happen in the body. And then it goes to the nervous system, spinal cord, and brain, and it tells the body what to do in response to that. So in this picture, what's different between the 2 eyes? Yeah, Lucy.
One of them is dilated.
Very good, dilated. Which one is? Yeah, that's right. So the top one is, so have you ever had your eyes dilated? You know, if you need to have your eyes checked, they will dilate your eyes. And your eyes look like this when they're dilated. So this middle part is an opening into your eye. The black part is not black dye, it's an opening. It's a hole in your eye. That's where light goes into your eye, back into your retina. And so this hole can get bigger or smaller. There's muscles around there that can open and close. But not just when you have an eye exam, but just in regular everyday experiences, you are going to see a change in your eyes. Did I do this before with y'all where I turned the lights on and off and you saw your eyes change? And so you know that when bright light, what would your eye look like? If it's bright, would it look like this or like this? So you're saying like this one? If the lights are bright, it would look like this if the lights are bright. Because, yeah, I can do it really fast. All right, so if you want to look at somebody, and you don't have to, but turn the lights on, and you should see a change in the pupils as you turn the lights on. Ready? So it's definitely a noticeable change. Yes. Black eyes. I haven't heard of pure black eyes, but I definitely heard of eyes that are dark brown to the point where it almost looks like it's black. But I haven't heard of black being an official color. There isn't a black dye that we have, but there definitely are dark brown eyes that can look almost black. What? Well, yeah, because it's the same thing. I mean, it's just that the dark brown part that looks like black would not be an opening, and they have an opening that looks black. And so they still would have that opening get bigger and smaller. It's just you couldn't really see it very well because they have this part is part of the eye, the colored part, and this is the hole into the eye. And that does get bigger or smaller with them, but it's hard to see it with that person. Yeah.
So when the pupil expands, what happens to the iris? Does it expand?
Yeah, it basically constricts. I mean, think about your mouth. It's kind of the same thing. All right, guys, focus, please, Dominic. You're in. It's the same thing like any other opening, and like your mouth, for example. There's muscle around your mouth too, or your eyes when your eyes open and close, like just the eyelid. The muscles can constrict around it, and so they compress. So when this is happening, this part, the iris is being compressed. The muscles are getting pressed around it, and they're stretched. And this one, they're more relaxed and they're spread out. And that's why we see a difference in size of the iris. So when you have bright light, the pupil gets small because you don't want a whole lot of light go into your retina. So the retina is the back part of your eye. Really fast, let me go and show you what that looks like right here. We'll go back in a second. So right here, do you see right here that this is an undilated pupil? This is a constricted pupil. It's very small. A little bit of light goes into your retina. Your retina is the back part of your eye. So this iris right here is just a colored part, but it's still part of the eye. The pupil is the part where there's a hole in the eye. And that hole lets light into your retina back here. So this is the opening of your eye. This is the lens right here. Light goes in through the pupil to the retina. If you have a lot of light going into your retina, you can burn your retina. That can lead to permanent blindness or damage. So the eye protects itself by constricting when there's bright light. But when you're in a dark environment, just the opposite. It opens as big as possible to let more light in. So you probably noticed that you turn the lights off at first, you can't see anything. But after some time, your eyes adjust and you can see more things. And that's because your pupil's getting bigger in size. And that lets you bring more light in, which makes things more visible to you.
Can your eye ever constrict all the way?
No, it can get pretty small though, but there always is going to be an opening to it. Yes.
Is it true that if you stand too close to the screen for too long, then your eyes will get damaged?
No, I've not heard about that. I mean, I haven't, like, it's not scientific. I mean, people say that but it's not based in reality. People say you should be 6 feet away from the computer or 6 feet away from this TV screen. There's no evidence that actually is going to hurt your eyes. Now, you can if you're there for too long. If you're there for hours at a time, that's not good for your body. That's not going to make you go blind or anything like that. You should definitely take a rest, though. Like staring at one thing for too long, no matter what it is not good for your eyes. It's not going to damage your eyes permanently, but it is going to make your eyes tired. It's eye strain. And so if you're looking at reading a book, painting, anything where you're looking at one thing for a long time, you should look up and look away. And that gives your eyes a rest. That's important. But the brightness of the TV, the different colors, that's not going to hurt your eyes. Now, really bright things like the sun, that will hurt your eyes. You're looking up at the sun, that is going to hurt your eyes. But the TV is not going to.
So if your pupils can dilate or close up, so you won't have light, why do you squint?
Why do you squint your eyes? That's just it's a reflex. I mean, it's hurting your eyes and there's pain. And so anytime you have pain, the response is to squint your eyes. Whether that pain would be dust in your eyes or smoke. The normal response to pain in your eyes is to squint them, which is protecting them from anything that could be harming them from the outside. Now, of course, it's light, but and if you close your eyes, you're going to shut out the light. And so it's more just a reflex to shut out the light. So squinting itself isn't going to really help you too much, but maybe a little bit. It might block some light when you have too bright of light.
If the pupil is or a hole in the eye, then what do we see whenever dogs look at a camera where the bright light and their light's reflecting off?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're seeing the retina, and that's where we get red. Have you ever seen a picture with red eyes in a person?
Yeah.
That's the retina you're seeing. And so when the flash is too bright, the flash goes through the pupil to the retina and reflects back out. The blood in the retina is reflecting back out, and you're seeing the blood from the retina, and that's what makes the eyes look red. So in pictures, if you have a really bright flash, then that's going to cause red eyes. And same thing with dogs or cats. You might see there be a blue or green glowing. So at night when you see the cats, the dogs glowing eyes, the retina is glowing back out. And that's what you're seeing when you see their eyes flash. And so that's what you're, and so if you're seeing different pigments, different colors, it's the retina reflecting out the light that you're seeing.
Sometimes you're saying how like your eye gets tired when you get something going
Yes.
on. Sometimes I'm masked when the colors are really uncommonly. I can't even like make out the facial features anymore because it's so blurry. Like,
Yeah, you're getting tired. Yeah.
is that like what's happening?
You're tired. And so it requires energy to focus your eyes. There are lots of muscles in your eyes you have to focus to maintain your vision. And when you're tired looking at a muscle, it's harder and harder to use that muscle when you get tired. And so a sign of being very tired is having blurry vision, not able to focus on things for too long, wanting to close your eyes, even having trouble breathing, because breathing requires muscles. You're looking at something with your eyes requires muscles. And if you're really tired, it's hard to use those muscles. So that's what's going on. It's just being very tired. Tiredness can also just be from boredom or fatigue too. I mean, it could be just you need to have a change up in the environment. And so things that can help in that situation would be to look at different things far and close. Like if you try to change up what you're looking at, that sometimes can help. Closing your eyes for a moment can also give you a rest. That can help too. But basically, your eyes need a rest at that point. Okay, so when you're looking at this one, you can see more light coming in. So when it's really dark, you're going to have this. Your eyes are going to look like this when it's dark, and it allows you to see more things at night. Pupils also change, not just based on light, but also on your feeling. And so if you are really happy, then you're going to have dilated pupils. So if you're around a friend, and you see them, you're going to have larger pupils. And so that's why if you look at these, the eyes, this one looks more pleasing. Like if you look back at these ones, like if you look at, where's it at right here? I mean, this one kind of looks angry. I mean, not too much, but I mean, if you were to choose the one that looks better, you'd say, well, this one looks better. One reason why is that this one says, I like you. Like if it's a large pupil, that tells you unconsciously that I like this person. And so that's one sign of somebody who likes a person versus who doesn't like a person. This one shows I don't like you. When it's smaller, then that is a sign of dislike. But also anger too. And so you can also get a large pupil if you're angry at somebody that you see. So any strong emotion that's provoked, you're going to get a larger pupil. So not just light, but also emotions are going to change your pupil size. Okay. I don't think we did that one. Sorry, we got to this one. So did we get this one right down here? Okay, these two. Okay, so, and then you have a response to that stimulus. So if you're looking at bright light, your pupils are going to get smaller to protect you. If they did not get smaller, you're going to get a retinal scar, a retinal burn. And that's why during a solar eclipse, they say don't look at the sun, because it's actually more dangerous to look at the sun during the eclipse than normally. So it's hard to be blind by the sunlight normally, because the sunlight is just so bright, your eyes are going to constrict so much, you have little risk of actually being blinded by the sun. Now, temporarily, you're going to have blurry vision, you're going to see spots in your eyes, things like that, but that's going to, over time, go away. It won't be permanent. It's very hard to have permanent damage from the sunlight, just looking at it by itself, but if you look at it during an eclipse, your pupil is larger because it's not as bright, but it's an intense enough light to burn your retina. And so you could have retinal burning, retinal scarring during an eclipse, and you could get blindness from the eclipse, but not during normal sunlight. So that's why it's dangerous, particularly to look at the sunlight during an eclipse.
So is that also why it's like worse to look at the sun when it's like not as bright, like looks less bright?
Yeah, that's right. It can be more dangerous if there's a really thin cloud, for example. It can be more dangerous during those times, because you have a larger pupil, which could bring more light in, which could harm your retina. And that could lead to spots in your vision. So that could just lead to permanent spots in your vision, where you just have parts that look white or black and you can't see clearly through those little parts in your vision.
So why on the cloudy days, like where there's like cloud cover, like sometimes like when you go outside, you're like squinting more than just like a normal sunny day.
Yeah, that might be the same reason. I never really thought about that or noticed that. It could be for the same reason with the eclipse, where you have your pupils are actually larger in size because there is less sunlight available, but the sunlight is still intense enough that it does irritate your eyes. That'd be my guess, is that your eyes haven't adjusted properly. Because it's cloudy, your eyes have a larger pupil than they should, and they're trying to adjust to that. They will eventually adjust, but they need to take some time to adjust properly to that. I think it's just hard on your eyes to adjust properly when it's cloudy versus when it's sunny. And that's also why you throw lights on at first. It's kind of annoying. I mean, you don't. It's not really pleasant to turn lights on when you're in a dark room for a while, because your pupil is pretty big. When the lights are turned on, you get a lot of light into your retina. That hurts you because that could actually damage your retina if you don't close your eyes. And so it's a response to possible damage to your retina. So when too much light enters into your eyes, your pupils get smaller to accommodate that and protect your retina.
So when the sun isn't very bright and you're looking at it, it's kind of hard to look away. Why is that?
I don't know. That's so hard to look away. So you mean you just like feel like you have to look at the sun?
No, it's just like you just kind of keep on looking at it.
I see. Well, things that are really bright do catch our attention. I mean, and so that might be part of it. It's just that it's hard to not look at something that's really that bright because it's distracting to us. That might be one reason why. It's just because it's just so bright, you feel like you have to look at it. That might be what's going on, possibly. I never noticed that myself, but I think that could be it. It's just that it's so overpowering, it's so bright, so distracting. It's hard to ignore that, and you feel like you have to look at it. It's probably what's happening. Goosebumps. So when you are cold, that can happen. Let me go back to this. So you have little tiny muscles on every hair strand. And when you're cold, those muscles are activated to pull your hair up. And the little goosebumps you're seeing is the skin under the muscle. The muscle is pulling on the skin, and that's what you see as the goosebump. For a while, we didn't know what goosebumps did for us because, for a dog or a cat, goosebumps have a lot more use. If you see a cat who's angry, the cat puffs up, and that's due to the goosebumps that develop. When it pulls its hair like this, it looks a lot bigger and scarier, and so it can scare off predators that way. And also it can help keep heat close by. And so if they're furry and you have this layer of warm air around the hair that traps, it's like a coat for them. And so it can help make them warmer because it traps hot air close to their body. But for humans without much hair, I mean, it doesn't really help you warm up too much. The air escapes pretty easily. But when humans had more hair, it might have helped them more. What they found just in the last year, though, is that when this happens, when you have goosebumps repeatedly, it activates the hair follicle to grow, and it makes you have longer hair. And so the more times this is activated, the longer your hair is going to grow. And so that would be a purpose that we just now recently discovered, where it tells your body to make more hair to make you warmer. So if you're in a cold environment, it's going to make the hair grow longer to help protect you from the cold. The 5 senses detect physical and chemical stimuli. So there's different things that change in the environment, and those senses, receptors, are going to detect those changes and tell your brain what's happening. So one of those is in your retina. Photoreceptors sense light. And you can see up here the magnification of the 2 cells that you have. You have rod cells and cone cells. And these are the 2 cells in your retina that detect light, different kinds of light. They bring it to your brain to tell you what you're seeing. You have the most of all the different kinds of neurons, you have the most ones for sight of anything. So we rely on sight primarily in our body. The rod cells are ones that detect black and white vision. So they're the ones that detect light and dark things. So they're used primarily for night vision. When things are not very bright, they're the ones that are activated the most. Now, they're going to give you richer colors. So they don't detect color itself. They do detect brightness and darkness. And so based on that, the colors that you do see are richer because the rod cells give you a depth to it. It gives you shadow. So it's, if you had no rod cells, it would look like the colors had no variation between them. You'd have less variation of colors. You'd have less depth to the colors. You'd have less brightness of the colors. It look washed out. Yeah.
So what happens when you have color blindness?
So color blindness, you don't have enough cone cells. So cone cells detect red, green, and blue light. And you would have less of those ones if you're colorblind. Now, people who are colorblind usually do see some color. A lot of people think they don't see any color. That's not true. People who are colorblind generally do see color, just not a wide range of colors. So one kind of color blindness, which is very common, is red-green color blindness, where they can't see red and green differences very easily. To them, it all looks kind of like a brown color. And they just have less red and green cone cells. So the green cone cell only detects green light, and that's it. So it's only triggered when green light hits it. Other ones, red cone cells, only detect red light, and then the others are blue. And so that's only the three colors that you detect, red, green, and blue. Now your body can then make, from those colors, it can then make all the colors you see. But that's all the light that it detects is red, green, and blue. But you can get combination colors based on which ones are fired at any one time. And yeah, colorblind people would have less cone cells. Now, if you have more rod cells, you're gonna have better night vision. And so there are certain animals, like cats, for example, have a lot less cone cells, a lot more rod cells. So they don't have good color vision, but they do have good night vision because they have more rod cells. So the more rod cells you have, the better night vision you have, the more cone cells you have, the better daytime vision you have, the better color vision you have. So if we had more cone cells, we'd see even more colors. Okay, going into your ear. And so in your ear, you have mechanoreceptors, and these respond to movement. So sound is a movement of the air. It's a wave through the air. It's moving air, and that movement of air goes into your ear. The hair cells are what detect sound. They're the nerve cells in your cochlea. They're mechanoreceptors in the cochlea that are actually the ones that detect different sounds. So you go into your ear. The pinna is the name for the ear. Your ear canal right here. And this is your eardrum. It's a very, very thin flap of skin, like a drum skin. It's stretched very thinly and very tightly. It can rupture at high decibels. So if it's a really loud sound, you can definitely tear your eardrum. Now, it's like a drum skin. So it can repair itself to a certain extent if it's been ruptured. If it's a really bad rupture, you have to have surgery to repair it. But a small rupture, it can repair on its own. But that would be a very loud sound. So when you have any kind of sound, the eardrum vibrates back and forth with the sound. So it's moving laterally back and forth with the sound. And that then activates your ear bones right here. You have three small bones in your ear. And these start to move too. And as they move, they amplify the sound. They make the sound wave bigger and more detectable.
I had a sibling who ruptured his eardrum, but it wasn't because of a loud sound. I think it was from ear infection.
Oh, that can happen too. With ear infections, the bacteria can eat away your ear. And that can also happen as well. So it's not always loud sounds. You can also have infections that can destroy your ear.
Humans can hear higher frequencies than other ones.
That has to do with your hair cells. So the hair cells in your cochlea are different sizes. The smallest ones are the ones for the highest frequencies. And so the smaller the hair cell, the higher the frequency you can hear. And so if we had even smaller ones, we could hear higher frequencies. Larger ones hear lower frequencies. So this is based on the size of their hair cells that gives us a range of what we can hear. And dogs can hear higher than what we can hear.
I watched this video and it was talking about how people who are older can hear higher frequencies.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah,
is that true? 'Cause
it is true. Yeah. Yeah. You can actually tell how old somebody is by what they can hear. So you could just based on what they can hear know about their age. It's very predictable as far um, as you age, what you can and cannot hear. And that has to do with what's I'll actually go back for something. Go to the ear again. So you have right here the snail looking thing. This is the cochlea right here. So this right here holds your ear fluid, and this holds your hair cells. So when these are bent, you hear a sound. And so the fluid moves with the sound, and that makes certain hair cells bend. So based on a certain frequency, only certain hair cells are bent, and that gives you a certain sound. Now, also gives you balance too. So other hair cells are moved based on which way you're moving, and that lets you know which way you're orientated. You can tell if you're upright or laying down just based on how your hair cells are being activated. And you have small stones in your ear too. So based on which way the stones are moving, certain hair cells are bent and let you know whether you're tilting to the side or whether you're upright. And if you spin around a lot, you're gonna have ear fluid spinning too. And even when you stop spinning, you still see the room spinning because your ear fluid is still spinning. Your brain thinks you're still spinning. So based on the ear fluid, they'll let you know which way you're moving. And you might feel nauseous too after you spun for a while because the brain then realizes something doesn't make sense here because it realizes eventually I'm staying still, but my ear is telling me that I'm spinning. And the brain thinks you've been poisoned. It thinks you're hallucinating. And so it makes you nauseous to get rid of the poison because it thinks that the only reason why you are feeling this way is you must be hallucinating and must have a poison in your body. So that's why you feel nauseous after you spun around for a while.
Is it similar to what happens when car sickness?
Exactly. Same exact thing. That's right. Your ear fluid is moving around a lot. You can see the things in through the window moving, but you're staying still, and the brain doesn't understand what's happening. And it thinks that the same reason that you're maybe hallucinating something. Yeah.
If like water was to shoot up into your ear like really fast, what would that affect?
Well, it depends on where it is. Now, most of the water just stays out here. It just drains back out. But you could, if it was really high pressure, it could go in here and it can either get stuck and give you an ear infection, or if it was high enough force, it could even rupture your eardrum. And so it depends on where it is. But most water just stays right in this area and drains back out. But the water gets back here, then that becomes a problem because it can just stay there and get stuck. And that can lead to infections. And it could also, if it gets even further, it could rupture your eardrum. So it's not a good situation to be in. Now, if it got all the way into here, you do have a drain right here. So this is an opening to your mouth right here. Your ear and your mouth are connected right here. And so if it got into this section right here, it could drain out into your mouth. That's why if your ears have high pressure, like on a plane, and you start to chew gum, they can pop. Because what's happening is that this right here gets closed, and you chew, you make this open, you relieve the air pressure that's building up in your ear, and you feel better. So your mouth and your ear are connected. That's also why your voice sounds different to you than other people. Recordings sound different to you of your voice. One reason why is that you hear yourself differently than other people because you hear your voice outside like other people hear it, but you also hear your voice inside. So you also have right here, you have air and you have sound going up this way and your bones reverberate off. And so your voice sounds richer to you. It sounds different to you because you hear internally too. Other people only hear your voice externally.
So does your voice sound like how you hear it or how other people hear it?
Other people hear it. Yeah. So it's not gonna to you, it sounds differently than other people hear it. So you will hear your voice differently than other people hear your voice. Slightly. I mean, not a huge difference. It's not gonna be a dramatic difference, but it's a little bit different. Because you're gonna hear your voice. Usually it's gonna sound richer to you. It's gonna sound not as flat, but generally when it's only outward, it's going to be a different experience and it's going to feel different. And that's one reason why recordings can sound weird to you of your voice. Sometimes recordings just don't do a good job and they really don't sound like you. But other times recordings are different to you because you don't hear yourself the same way as other people hear you. So these are hair cells right here. And based on their size, they detect different frequencies. The smallest ones right here, they detect the highest frequencies. So the smallest ones detect 20,000 hertz. That's the highest note, the highest pitch you can hear. And then you have the lowest frequency, the lowest note, 20 hertz. And those would be the biggest hair cells. So when you have hearing damage, everybody has hearing damage as they get older. It's unavoidable. Even if you never use earbuds, never go to concerts, aren't around loud things, you can't avoid having some hearing damage as you get older. When that happens, the smallest hair cells right here are the first ones to go. And nerve cells cannot repair if they're damaged. And so once they're damaged, they're gone. And you start to lose slowly your highest frequency hearing. And so it's first 20,000 hertz, then 19,000 hertz, 18,000 hertz. And you keep on losing the highest frequency notes. And so as you get older, you just can't hear them anymore. So people who are young can hear high frequencies, those who are older cannot. And so there are even certain ringtones that people will get. And teens can hear that ringtone, but adults cannot because it's too high of a frequency for adults to hear it. You can find out the age of your hearing. So it's right here. If you listen to notes, am I gonna do something? Go to the bathroom? Okay, you gotta ask me first. All right, she asked me, but you have to ask me first. All right. So this right here is going to let you see how old your ears are. And basically, if you have a lot of hearing damage, if you've been to a lot of concerts, for example, you live by an airport, you use your earbuds a lot, high volume, you're gonna have more hearing damage. You'll have older ears.
Hey, how's it going? This is Joe and Tel, and today we're going to try to find out how old your hearing is. I'm Joe, and I review speakers and audio equipment in all different price ranges here on YouTube. And I rely heavily on my ears, but one thing I do is I do a lot of measurements, and that's because I can't trust my ears 100%, and neither should you. The reason I say that is because as we age, our ability to hear high frequencies starts to decline. The test we're going to be doing today is to try to figure out how old your hearing is. If you're interested in knowing the formula that I use, I'll leave that in the link in the description. This is just for fun. It's not a medical test. So this is how the test works. I'm going to be running some frequency sweeps from high to low. And what you're going to try to find out is where you can start hearing high frequencies. This does require for you to use headphones. It will not work if you're using your phone or a laptop. So also make sure not to.
So even though he says that, I mean, you can get a rough idea. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because it's a better test if you do have your headphones on, but we can still get a rough idea of your hearing. So it's not, again, it's better to have your headphones on, but we can still get an idea of what your hearing is like.
Too loud. If I sound reasonably loud right now, then keep it at this volume here. So when the test starts, it's going to start playing tones immediately. Notice when you can start hearing the sound.
Do you hear the sound?
No.
Really interesting.
Can you?
No, I can't.
Okay.
No.
Oh, God.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
All right. So I wonder why, because usually it works. I wonder why this one, because I played it in the previous years, and usually it was pretty accurate. So I wonder why this year it's not. Maybe the sound is off for some reason. So
Because when you heard it louder,
maybe okay.
Can someone hear it? Like,
Well, in the past, it was usually pretty accurate with doing. So I don't know why this year it's not. We'll try it again. All right, everybody ready? Let's try it again. See if it works better. Can you hear right there? 26. Yeah, my speakers are not that great. I think I need to get new speakers. Yeah, I know because last year it worked pretty well. So you can hear about there. All right. So that is about 70,000 hertz. That's what you're hearing it at. And I think my speakers just are not that great. And that's why, because Yeah, I can let you know because I don't hear anything right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
can hear
I heard it at 27.
You still
Okay, so I can hear it now. So I got yeah. So apparently I'm 51.
I heard it at
Yeah.
I heard it at 30.
Yeah.
Wait, keep it going.
No,
Guys,
You should hear my voice only from the left ear. If you don't, then you may have your headphones switched.
Oh, they're now testing just ears. I mean, yeah. I mean, you could. So unfortunately, my speakers are just. I wonder if I can try just my computer. I don't know if that's gonna can. I don't know if you'll be able to hear or not on my computer, but let's see if that makes a difference. Let's go back to here one more time. You can hear that still, yeah. Well, that's too bad. But at least you get the idea.
Wait, can we do it right?
Do I know?
Right ear. Can we do it right ear?
Oh, right ear. I mean, really, it only work really for headphones. But I mean, it's not gonna work that great with your ears. But
My right ear is good.
well, I'll have to figure out how to make that better feel because like that's. So I don't think y'all have that bad of a hearing. But the idea though is that as you get older, you do lose your hair cells, and there are certain sounds that you cannot hear when you're an adult that you can hear when you're a kid. And then of course, you know, like animals like dogs, for example, can hear really high frequencies. So a dog whistle, you can't hear that, but a dog can, because that's a high frequency that you cannot hear. And also animals like whales that can make really, really low sounds that are below 20 hertz that we cannot hear, but can travel miles, thousands of miles even. So elephants and whales communicate by that low frequency that we cannot hear, but they can. And low frequency sounds travel very far. And so whales and elephants can communicate that way and send a low frequency sound really far, thousands of miles to the ocean or through the land to communicate with each other. That's also why male voices carry further than female voices. Lower voices carry further, and the sound waves are bigger and longer, and so they carry more easily. High frequency sounds bounce around and they don't travel very well. And so a female voice cannot carry through the walls as easily as a male voice can. Because it's a high frequency sound, the shorter waves bounce around, they don't go through the wall.
And what about, like, because I saw somewhere where you close the car door from far away, and like what you see is
Well, that's true because sound travels slower. Like that's the thing. The speed of light lets you see things. The speed of sound lets you hear things. And so that's also why when you like look at lightning, the sound of lightning comes later. And so you're seeing it. The speed of light goes from the light to your eyes. You can see it before you hear it. And so you can look at lightning and count the seconds to hearing thunder, because thunder is from lightning. And that tells you how far away the storm is. Every 5 seconds equals 1 mile. And so that lets you know how far away the storm is because you can see it before you can hear it. Okay, so that was hearing. Go on to taste and smell. So taste and smell use chemoreceptors. And so both taste and smell are chemical, where you have chemicals dissolving in fluid to give you taste. And so that's what you see as taste buds, is there's basically small openings in your tongue that let dissolved chemicals go in to your nerve cells. These are nerve cells right here that are fired based on certain chemicals. So these detect chemicals dissolved in the fluid and let you taste. And so some only detect sweet, others detect bitter, others detect salty, others detect umami. Have you heard about umami taste before? It's like a meaty taste. It's like like mushrooms, for example, like a protein taste. That's what umami is. Also called savory taste. And then everybody does. And then sour. And so these are the 5 different tastes that, and the combinations of those make different tastes. But those are your 5 major taste buds.
So why do people have more of a sweet tooth than others?
That has to do mostly with how many taste buds they have. When you are younger, you have more taste buds, and if you have more taste buds, you're going to like sweeter things. Bitter things are going to be really unpleasant to you. As you get older, though, with less taste buds, bitter things are actually more pleasant to you because you don't taste as well. And people are older, they put a lot of salt in their food because to them their food is really bland. They can drink black coffee. They'll drink wine and beer, which is really bitter. They'll eat vegetables like Brussels sprouts. And they can do that probably because they have fewer taste buds. For a kid, though, because they have a lot of taste buds, they would prefer sweet things. Everything else is pretty unpleasant to taste besides sweet things.
So what makes you not like certain foods?
That's to do partly with your genes too. So besides how many taste buds you have, it also to do with your genes. So the genes interpret what you are smelling and tasting, and they also have different chemicals that will deal with those tastes. And so based on the enzymes you have in your body, and based on how your brain interprets it, it can interpret it to be pleasant or unpleasant. Bitter things are not usually pleasant to us because most things that are poisons are bitter, and so it's your body's way to protect you. Because most bitter things are poisonous, and so it's not. That's for your own protection. Now your body can learn that bitter things are okay, but it takes some training for that to happen. And so it's based partly on are you exposed to it? Do you try to eat vegetables? If you don't, then you're not going to like it. But over time, you can learn to like things that are bitter. Um, Same thing with peppers. Peppers are really spicy, and at first, it's not pleasant to eat peppers. But over time, the brain will learn that a pepper is nutritious for you. It has vitamins in it, with vitamin C, and the brain recognizes that. In the future, it will reward you for eating peppers, and eating hot things then is more pleasant to you because the body learns this is actually good for me. And so that's also how you can change your taste to like things you used to not like.
Isn't there also like different types of people, like super
Yeah, super tasters would have more taste buds. That's right. Yeah, and that's to do back with your genes, but yeah, it's mainly how many taste buds do you have.
So when like little kids like spicy foods or like sparkling water, like stuff like that, or soda, does it mean that they don't have these limitations?
That would be one thing that could happen. They could have less taste buds, and most likely that is what's happening. That's generally what would be the case, and your genes have a big part to play in that. So as you mentioned before, taste and smell use chemoreceptors, and for smelling, sorry, let me go back here. We already wrote this one down, but don't worry about writing it down again. But this goes up. This is your nose right here. This is your nasal cavity. Your sinuses are right here. When you smell something in the air, it's a chemical that's going into your nose. And so this little green thing are certain chemicals you're smelling. So whatever you are smelling, the only way you can smell it is to have that chemical go up into your nose and go to your nerve cells up here. And then when the chemical hits your nerve cells, they're triggered, and it goes up to your brain and tells you what you're smelling. And that's why certain smells are unpleasant to you, because when you are smelling anything, what that means is that you have that thing in your nose. That chemical is in your nose. So certain things can make you sick. There are certain things that are really unpleasant to you, and they're that way because it's bacteria you're smelling. It's something that is going to harm you, and so you want to get away from that smell. And the brain tells you this is gross. Get away from this.
So how eventually you get used to this?
Yeah, so eventually, if you don't get away from the smell, if you stay by the smell, your brain gets tired of telling you you're smelling this. It says, okay, it says you already get the message, you know you're smelling this thing, so we're going to just stop telling you you're smelling this thing. And so, yeah, you can be in a room with like pizza, for example, and at first you can smell the pizza, but over a few minutes, you don't smell anymore. Now, if you leave the room and come back, though, you'll then smell it again. But your brain just shuts off that smell. Same thing in your home. Like you can have a certain house smell that you just get used to. And other visitors come to your house and they say, oh, your house smells like this, that you don't smell it because your brain has turned off that smell. And your brain is used to it. It knows that that's how it smells, and you don't need to smell anymore. And so your brain can turn off certain signals because of that. It just knows you already know about that smell.
So then if you leave your house and you go back to it, why don't you smell?
Why don't you? So if it's a chronic thing where it's an everyday thing, then your brain can get used to that smell and it can automatically turn it off right away when you come back home. Now, if it's a longer, like if you leave your home for like a week or so and come back, then you might refresh it. But if you come back in a couple of hours, it might not refresh that fast. All right, have a good weekend, everybody.